Is the Miami infrastructure ready for all the development that's coming in the next few years? I think not. So now I'll talk about how new development impacts infrastructure. So say you have an area where you had a single family home, where there were a family of 5 living in that area. Then all of a sudden, this area in city of Miami gets bought, and then a developer comes in and puts a tower of 45 floors, and then he puts in 350 units. And in those 350 units, there's an average of 2 people by unit, so you have an additional 700 people that you added in that same lot where there used to be a family of 4. So what happened is that all that consumption of that family, you can imagine, just increased quite radically. And now you have that same area needing a lot more services in terms of water or sewer disposal, or the road is gonna be busier, and all this happens throughout the city as new development comes in. So similarly, you have an area that it wasn't that much populated, and you had some infrastructure under the roads that was handling the basic needs of that community. Then all of a sudden you add thousands of people because you were able to build businesses and entertainment and some new residences, and you put schools. Now, as you're building all these projects, then the infrastructure gets very congested because of the additional usage. And if you just fix these things on a project by project basis, then you're just patching and putting a band-aid in the system, but you're not actually solving the problem holistically and looking at the entire community and what's really happening like down the road. And another thing to take into consideration is that developments in areas with lack of proper infrastructure can damage those communities. And just take the quick example where all of a sudden you have a community that has a lot of green space, and then development comes in and they turn all that green space into gray space because they build roads, they build stores, they build restaurants, they build residences, but they did not properly plan for drainage in the area, and then they converted all that green space into impervious area, meaning that now the water is not draining in those green areas, and now you have less area for that water to drain. And then you see a bunch of flooding, which we have a lot in Miami. Why? Because there is a lot of development and the infrastructure hasn't catch up to the amount of development that we're seeing. And I believe we're gonna continue to see this problem increase as time goes on, because I don't see development going anywhere here in Miami. I think actually it's been like 10x in the last 5 years, and it's gonna continue to do that. So there needs to be something that is put in place so that the infrastructure can move faster to be able to catch up with all the development. Lastly, how can we fix this? Well, I believe the way this can be fixed is by communication, right? And creating groups and communication lines between the development industry and the civil infrastructure industry and the planners in cities, counties, and state agencies, so that all of these developments that are planned for the next 15, 20, 25, 40 years are taken into consideration in the capital plans of all of these agencies, and so that the infrastructure can actually sustain all the development that is planned for the hot areas like Miami. Today, I don't believe that the infrastructure in Miami is ready for all the development that comes along. There's definitely a lot of work that's ahead of us, and there is definitely a lot of work that is being done by agencies in South Florida and in the Miami area, but there is a lot of work also that's in the books right now in the development industry. And when those two come together, I think that the development industry is moving faster.